Hey everyone, this is David. No, this is just one of David's quick hits. It's David's Daily Dish. You know, you guys really love these little chats, these impromptu chats. I didn't really know if this was going to stay around, but here we are. We started this at the beginning of this year. The bottom line is everyone keeps asking me if these are going to stay. Here's the bottom line, and I mean this really sincerely. These little mini shows have ads in them. You guys are actually not only listening to the show, you're listening to these ads. So, which I can track all of this. You're listening to the ads. So the bottom line is, first of all, thank you. Second of all, thank you. And third of all, as long as you keep listening to the ads, they're not that bad, guys. And by the way, the products that I advertise, I stand by them all. We just don't say yes to everything here. And a lot of you get a fucking deal. So, like, you want stuff like Quince, you want cheap cashmere, cheap luxury goods. All the ads have a discount. So, I mean, you should listen to them. Don't you want to buy an air purifier? Really? You don't realize how contaminated. Everyone thinks I'm just like, I'm really into clean living. You don't realize how contaminated the inside air is. So get your Air Doctor Pro. Excuse me. But thank you for listening. As long as you keep listening to the ads, these little mini episodes, I guess, will stay. I don't have time to do extra stuff, but there's stuff happening in real time. I want to talk about Kandi exiting RHOA. That's actually what I want to talk about. So, first of all, Kandi's announced that she's exiting RHOA. She announced it at the Grammys. A lot of people may not realize this because people are slipping into my DMs and leaving comments. I mean, her and Andy, like, listen, I've always said Andy Cohen loves Kandi. I will stand by that. He absolutely loves Kandi. He does have his favorites. He's always loved Kandi. And he wasn't shocked because they talked before this. Everyone's like, oh my God. And she announced it. No, I mean, she talked to Andy. And I always wonder when someone announces something like this, like, do you have it planned out? And that's no shade to Kandi. It's just the industry in general. Like, was that like a real moment? Or did you know if I'm going to announce this to the world, I'm going to do it at the Grammys? I would assume the latter. And there's no shade to that. But Andy knew because they talked before. And so there was no shocks. Andy has, for everyone who doesn't know if Andy loved Kandi, go to Kandi's Instagram. She posts Andy talking about it on Radio Andy. And it's not like 30 seconds. He goes on and on and on and on about how much he loves Kandi Burruss and all the reasons why. You know, he reveals like Kandi was a true partner. She called when she had an idea and said, they're taking the show in the wrong direction. You know, it really seemed like Kandi was like a behind the scenes producer, which that doesn't shock me. But they had a really collaborative effort. He said that Kandi was a huge reason why the whole diversity and inclusiveness initiative at Bravo was created because they had a very long phone call. And when they got off it, everyone said, yes, let's do everything she said. So none of this shocks me. I had Kandi on this show. I'll reissue that and share it so that everyone doesn't have to go find it on the back feed. I said to her, why does Andy love you so much? I mean, I think it was my actual question. I don't know how I phrased it. And she said, you know, I do the job. I'm talent. I show up. My job is not to argue with the boss, is not to argue with production. And she said, I've never once in my entire run asked for something to be edited, which that's it. Trust me, guys. When I interview a housewife or somebody, and then I get that text and it's like unread, and you're like, this person is not texting me to say, I had such a great time. What a great chat. Now, sometimes, a lot of the time, you open it and that's exactly what it is, but I shudder. I just happened to me today. I interviewed someone from the reality world yesterday in person in LA. I got this text this morning. It's literally like 6 o'clock in the morning here. It's dark out and it's pouring in LA. I interviewed this person yesterday in the studio. I get a text this morning like at 4 a.m. I keep New York hours when I'm here. So I wake up like at 3:30 because it's 6:30 at New York. And I'm like, why is this person and they're in LA too. Why are they texting me like at 3:30 in the morning? oh my God, they're going to want an edit. They're not getting an edit. I'm too fucking busy. And they were just like, we had such a great time. But anyway, he loves Kandi. Go to her Instagram. She posted all these great things he said about her. You know, for all of my saying, like, Monica Garcia, you didn't quit, you're not taking time, you were fired. Dorinda, you were fucking fired, girl. Get over it. Get some therapy, work it out, girl. Pause. You were fired. So for me saying that all these people are fired when they say they left on her own, Kandi left on her own. Let's just be clear about that, because not everyone necessarily, based on these DMs I've received, really believes that she did. She wasn't, in my opinion, going to be fired, you know, ahead of the next season. I mean, I think it's like time for her to go. I think this is a good move. I personally don't really understand. I really think everyone who has a problem with Kandi, and not everyone, you know, you all say she's boring, she's this, she's that. Kandi and I talked about that when she was here. I'm not here to like cheerlead Kandi. I'm giving you my honest opinion. I think she was a great housewife. You know, we talked about it here. She was totally in on the like every season. I'm boring. I'm going to get fired, blah, 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 blah. I don't know why you all really had a problem with Kandi. I really don't think she was that boring. You know, we can't have all these loud personalities. You need the middle of the road people to move the story along, to just kind of take a B game. And that's not even an insult because Kandi is an A player, but like Crystal Kung, and I'm sure all of you are nodding and saying, David, you're proving our point that she was boring, but like Cynthia Bailey and Crystal Kung, and I mean, who else? Like they're doing the job, and you don't get fired for doing the job. Granted, I really am very hard on Emily and Gina from the OC, but I just think they're boring. I think they're different. I don't know. Just me. I think Kandi was a great housewife. I think that she is underrated in a lot of ways. You want my opinion? I think the people that have a problem with Kandi, it's because of Nene. I think you're all just upset and you feel like she came for Nene and stood up for Nene and quote unquote ran Nene off the show. I mean, Nene Leakes ran her damn self off the show. Okay, I'm back. I mean, people say they love the real moments here behind the velvet rope. Well, that was a real moment. I just spilled coffee on where I'm sitting and it got on my gorgeous gazillion-dollar wallpaper. I was just about to have a mental breakdown. Anyway, the show must go on because that's what really counts. Okay, so here we are. I think Nene, see, is that like Nene, like the ghost of Nene watching over me and punishing me for saying this? I think Nene Leakes ran her damn self off the damn show. I got my hands flew and it hit the coffee that's next to me. So I think that's why you all don't like Kandi. I think Kandi, she came on the show in 2009, right at the beginning of RHOA. You know, she was the first name person to ever join the Housewives. You know, before Denise Richards, before Lisa Rinna, before Garcelle Bouvet, before Jenna Lyons, before all these people that had a name in the world, Kandi was the first name. And it was a big deal. It was a big deal. And if you think back, the cast was even like, holy shit, we have Kandi fucking Burruss here. I mean, she wrote Bills, Bills, Bills. Do you know what I'm saying? So no scrubs. Like Kandi did not need the money. I mean, girlfriend is not one to turn down a check. So, but I think she was a great housewife. I really, truly, truly do. I think that she certainly made her mark on the show. She left on her own. I think that she did the job and she did it well. And I still don't understand all the negative. I think she was really goes down as one of the greats. And look, I think that this is such an interesting time now. I was thinking about it today before I jumped on here. Have I been too harsh on RHOA? I feel for me, the four worst seasons in Housewives history are the Dr. Jen OC season. And I had Dr. Jen on here. I love her. It's not her fault. It's an ensemble cast. The Dr. Jen OC season. The season before that, the Elizabeth Vargas OC season. Love Elizabeth Vargas. Just talked to her 2 days ago. It's not her fault. It's an ensemble cast, her and Bronwyn. I love Bronwyn. I think those 2 seasons, the COVID season of OC with Elizabeth and the season after with Dr. Jem, plus I think that Salt Lake City, season 3, and I think last season, season 15 of RHOA, for me, are the 4 worst seasons in Housewives history. It's an ensemble show. No one is to blame. I fucking hated RHOA last season. I fucking hated it. And I'll say it again. I was so bored. It was a mishmash and a mess. And Marlo with a kitchen sink just throwing it out there. So I don't think I was too hard on RHOA. I think at times I'm too lenient on Beverly Hills, but I don't think I was too hard on RHOA. So Kandi, you will be missed. I think this is now an interesting time. Kandi also brought us Mama Joyce. And the thing about Kandi is she may not be like in your face all the time, but come for her family. She steps up. She ain't afraid of you. She went for Nene, right? She didn't go for Nene, but when she had a problem with Nene in the first season, she spoke up to Nene. She wasn't afraid of Nene Leakes right in the beginning. So I just think she brought us Mama Joyce. I think Kandi was, I mean, she fell in love with a producer, breaking the fourth wall, and now she's married to Todd. I think she just did the job so well. I thought she elevated the franchise. I love her. But I think this is now an interesting time because RHOA is broken. Do I think there's going to be a reboot? You all do. You're all slipping into my DMs. And you're like, oh my God, the writing's on the wall. And like, she was really not going to come back and they were going to fire her. And they were going to do a reboot. I don't think that's really true. I think she left on her own. I mean, let me rephrase that. She did leave on her own because I have it through reliable sources. And I'm not so sure that this means that the show is going to be rebooted. I also just want to say that I just gave you my worst seasons in Housewives history. I think one of the most underrated seasons is season 6 of RHONJ, the quote unquote awful season. I am friends with Amber Marchese. I probably am biased because of that. I think she was a great housewife. I think she had potential. I know everyone's rolling their eyes and this and that, but it's Jersey, guys. Amber was on brand. She's moved on with her life and wants nothing to do with housewives. But I think that season 6 with Amber and the twins, I don't know why it's so hated among the fans. I think it was actually a good season. So what happens with RHOA now as we head into the future? I think this opens. I don't think Kandi was going to be, well, I mean, she wasn't going to be fired. So we would have had her unless we had a reboot, which I still think was on the table. I'm not so sure about a reboot for a lot of reasons. A lot of reasons. I mean, everyone loves to point out that RHONY was a failure. I will say it again. It was not a failure. Based on how much it cost, $60,000. Okay, Jenna, with your $100,000. The ratings weren't horrible for the salaries. Like, listen, if RHONY and RHOSLC have the same ratings, RHOSLC, we're in season 4 now. Meredith, Lisa, Whitney, we're looking at like $300,000-$400,000 times all that, right? We're now getting top heavy. We're getting top heavy over here in Salt Lake with those ratings. We're top heavy in Miami. Guys, I don't know. Miami is so great. It is. I love Miami too. We got some heavy players there. Larsa makes a ton of money. Alexia makes a ton of money. By the way, Marisol makes like $1. Honestly, I have been told from reliable sources that Marisol and Adriana make like $1,000 an episode, maybe 1,200, maybe now 2,000. It's really low. But Larsa makes a shitload of money. Lisa Hochstein makes a shitload of money. Alexia makes a shitload of money. Who else is there? So RHOM, the ratings are not great, and it's really top heavy. So RHONY was a success. Dollars for advertising dollars. The ratings weren't great, but it was still a success. But it's so we're all conflicted by RHONY, right? And I think RHONY plays a big role in, are we going to reboot other franchises? I think RHONY was so much money. Luann and so, I mean, we had really people that were there forever. So Luann and Sonia and Dorinda were making a shitload of money and then mix in everything else. And you all cried. I don't want to hear about racial issues on Housewives. Wah, wah, wah. So we did have some issues with RHONY. I do not think it needed to be rebooted. I'm not sure. Andy says that the reunion for RHOY is the best season ever. You guys were such a success, and no one has ever cried this much at a reunion. Here's all the tissues, but I don't know. There are these rumors. I'm very well aware of them. None of these rumors are true. First of all, Luann and Sonia and Dorinda are going to be asked that. Listen, you guys want things, and then someone puts the rumor out there, and everyone is so excited. We run with it. There's no truth to this rumor. It's an interesting idea. Could it happen? Sure. I think Luann and Sonia and Dorinda mixed with some of the newbies, I think is like a brilliant idea because now we know the newbies. I don't think it would have worked keeping those three or any combination. I mean, Dorinda wasn't even there, and then mixing in newbies because we would never would have gotten to know the newbies. And let me be very honest with you. Dorinda, hello, have you met her? She would have steamrolled over any newbie. But now they're not newbies. Don't fuck with Aaron Leachy. Don't fuck with Giselle. So now they're established, the new generation. So now if you brought in a Luann, and I got to talk about this more, but so if you brought in a Luann, a Sonia, a Dorinda, now it's different. They're almost like kissing up to the newbies, the 37-year-olds, the next generation. Well, we've been fired. We're just lucky to have our paycheck back. And by the way, they're not getting their $1 million paychecks. But now it's, so I don't think keeping like a Lou or a Sonia and then mixing in these newbies, it would have worked because the OGs would have steamrolled over the newbies. Now the newbies are the future. They have their own show. You're not even on the show. Now, if we brought these ladies back, it would be more of equal footing, right? And that would be interesting. So I love this idea. I love this idea of getting rid of, I think it's obvious who we would get rid of. We'd probably get rid of 2 people on the RHOY cast and bring these 3 in. Wow, that's so interesting to me. Now, we're also now back to a show. I mean, people are saying Jenna's out and we're going to get rid of Sai and Uba's going to be a friend of. Now we're back to basically a bunch of white women, more or less. We have Giselle. I mean, we have Brand. I think this is getting away from the diversity that is New York City, the diversity that is the world, the diversity is Bravo. I ain't sure that that's really happening, guys. So slow your roll on that rumor. But I'm not sure RHOA is going to be rebooted, and we got to go. These are quick hits. Come on, we got to talk about this another time. I'm not so sure that RHOA is getting rebooted. I know what's going around out there. Kenya and Porsha are going to anchor this season. I would like to tell you also, there's no truth to this rumor. I'm really just telling you there's no truth to any of these rumors here today. Could that happen? Sure. I think it opens things up for RHOA. I have to be honest with you. I had Michael Rappaport on this show. He said Porsha is the #1 housewife he wants to bring back. I don't see it personally. I was never a huge Porsha fan. I don't get why Kandi is boring and we all want her gone and Porsha was like some superstar. I just don't get it. I'm okay with Porsha coming back and her and Kenya anchoring the season. And I guess Porsha versus Kenya. Again, guys, we have to have legs. Tamara riding down the street on a motorcycle is great when she takes off the helmet. I'm back, bitches. And Heather Dubrow walking in and we see the house. I'm back. We got to carry that, right? We got to carry that. Alexis versus Shannon. We got to really have some meat on the bones here. We want meat and potatoes. So Porsha versus Kenya, is that a whole season? It could be. Could be. It's better than what we've had. There's no truth at this point to the rumors that Porsha is coming back. It could be. I would be okay with Porsha not coming back. I don't know why we're not talking about the elephant in the room. I mean, if Phaedra's a wild card, here's the thing. Phaedra did great on Girls Trip. She's lingering on Married to Medicine, but Phaedra needs all-stars. That's the thing. She needs all-stars to play with. When she's mixing it up with Brandi Glanville and this one and that one, that's her best. I think she's kind of bored over there on Married to Medicine. I mean, Kandi never would stay on Housewives if Phaedra was coming back. Well, Kandi's gone. So where is the call to Phaedra? Now, let's go to the I think everyone's giving her, she's great on the Traitors. She's going to go far. But I think we're giving her too much credit. One of the most maniacal, evil, devious, brilliant, I am speechless at their gameplay of Survivor is Parvati. She is so good. She was on this podcast. I just reissued her chat. She's so good. I mean, Phaedra's sitting there. So I think Phaedra's doing great, but people don't realize Phaedra is doing well in this game because of Parvati. Parvati is doing well because of Phaedra. It's a symbiotic relationship. Everyone's saying, I mean, Phaedra's sitting there ready to make a decision after they vote out Dan. And she's like, this one and that one. You just had the biggest smackdown with Peter Weber, Phaedra. The last name she will ever bring up, because Phaedra is a housewife. It is a clapback. She is emotional. Now I'm off on a tangent. And Parvati is like, yeah, the fact that you and Peter just had a huge smackdown, the last person someone's going to expect to be a traitor is Peter Weber. The last person they think that Phaedra Parks would ever basically invite into the Traitors is Peter. And then it's also going to protect you. No one's going to think that you and Peter are working together. So Parvati, this brilliant idea of hers, and Phaedra's like, what? You want Bachelor Boy to come and be one of us? Yes, Phaedra, this is how you play an actual game. Now, she might go farther than Parvati, because Parvati has she's the Black Widow after Dan. I mean, she is the most evil game player out there. So let's just understand that Phaedra's doing great on Traitor and coming up with these one-liners, a lot because of Parvati, because she is just an all-star. So Phaedra needs all-stars. She needs to play in the big leagues. She needs to play with the big boys. I think she's bored on Married to Medicine. I think she's the one. No offense to Porsha. I could see it being a Kenya versus Porsha season, or them working together. Bring in Phaedra. You can bring in both of them. Now we're getting expensive, guys. Cha-ching, cha-ching. Mind you, we have $2.8 million to play around with that Kandi Burruss was making. So you can listen, I don't even think you have to give them. You probably have to give Porsha more than Phaedra, because Porsha left at a certain salary and she's definitely going to want that salary to come back, if not a little more. Phaedra is going to be much cheaper, but they'll both be, maybe Phaedra will be like 9 something and Porsha will be like 1.2. I'm just guessing. You still get the two of them for less than Kandi. So you could bring them both back. I say Phaedra's the one I want to see back the most. Phaedra and Kenya. To me, I had Sanya Richards-Ross on this podcast. I love you, girl. It's time. Drew Sidora. Some people think she should stay. Girl, you lost the best part of you. His name was Ralph Pittman. It's not just because Ralph is hot as fuck. And in my top hot house husbands of all time, I think Drew, girl, it's not authentic. You just say whatever. Just you're thirsty, girl. You need a drink. I say get rid of Drew. Look, if we're going to lose Kandi, it's a changing of the guards. Marlo, thank you for your service. You have been the longest, one of the most famous friends of in the history of friends of. My good friend Kim G. I love my Kim G from New Jersey. She was there for a short period of time. Kim G is fine. She comes out to the Hamptons. Spoke to her recently. She don't want nothing to do with Housewives. Marlo, you were the best friend of ever. It's time, girl. Last season, you had the kitchen sink. Shit was falling out of your purse, girl. You were trying so hard. You keep Kenya. You bring in Phaedra. Let Sheree stay, right? Sheree does the job. She does the job. Keep Sheree. Keep those 3. Maybe bring in Porsha. And then bring in some newbies and let's get this thing on. I think that is more likely than a total reboot. Total reboot is so, what's the word? Final? Like, you are committing to these new people. And so I do think New York was a success. I think they're happy with it. I think Andy's happy with it. It's going to move forward. But I wouldn't say it was a grand slam where people are like, where is New York? When is New York starting to film? When can New York come back? I don't think it was like that. So I think it was a mild success. And because of that, because of New York, that's a very roundabout way of me saying, I don't think that RHOA is going to be rebooted. I think we're going to see some combination of Kenya and these others. I got to go. This is not turning into a quick hit. Remember, this only exists because you're listening to the ads and you're listening to the whole thing. So if I start talking this long, though, on these quick hits, I don't know. I don't even know. I don't even know what to say. We're going to have to just, I don't know. I just need a life. That's my thoughts. Good luck, Kandi Burruss. Keep listening. We had Kiki Barth on yesterday. Kiki Barth, y'all love Miami so much. Go listen to my interview with Kiki. She was great. Her and Lisa Hochstein, tisk tisk tisk. They aren't getting along. Love you much. See you tomorrow.